couple months ago, I was in New York City, and I was doing training for a large anesthesiology practice, and I had a bunch of practice managers associated with a hospital. And after the training, this one practice manager comes up to me, and she says, I have someone who's not performing. I said, okay. And she said, well, I keep stripping away parts of her job, trying to leave her something she can do. And I said, okay. And she said, well, there's not much of the job left. I said, okay. And I said, how long has this been going on? And she looked up, she paused, she thought for a second, and she said, 4 years. Now, here's the thing that's kind of sad. It's actually not that uncommon, right? Like, how many of you have someone who can't merge to an EMR system? It's a nurse, she's been there 35 years, you love her, she's like family, but she can't make the change. And we know we need to do something, but we like her, so we feel like we can't. So I said to this practice manager, I said, well, why haven't you said anything? She said, well, I really like her, and it's hard. I'll give you another one. It would be like if I had your whole office, right? And I was hired to help them be more candid. That was my job, help teams be more candid. And I had them all day, 9 to 4. And in the front of the room right here, this guy is sitting with his teammates, and all day long, he has a booger right here. Booger. Now, when you have a booger right here, what's the only thing you can see? Is the booger, right? Like, there's no head, there's no body, there's just this booger. Now, tell me why all day nobody talks to the guy about the booger. Why is that? They didn't want to what? They didn't want to make him feel bad, and they didn't want to embarrass him. So let me ask you a question. Which is worse? For someone to be like, dude, or to let him walk around with the booger all day? What would you prefer if it was you? But we have this thing that it's not nice to tell people the truth, right? We have this thing, we're nice people, it's not nice. So I'm gonna start a sentence and I want you to finish it, okay? You ready? If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Who taught you that? Your mommy. So it's mommy's fault that there's not more candor in the workplace. So here's what we're gonna do in our time together today. I'm gonna give you an 8-step formula to say the hardest things that you've been avoiding. I'm gonna demo how to tell someone they smell, how to tell someone not to text in front of patients, and how to tell someone that she or he has a bad attitude. Okay, are you ready? Step 1, introduce the conversation. Hey, do you have a second? I need to talk to you. Step 2, I've noticed. Step 3, state the impact of that behavior. When people look at you and think about you in this office, I want them thinking about how smart you are and all that you bring to our practice. I don't want them distracted with something else. Step 5, ask her for her take on the situation. What are your thoughts? Now, what you should expect to get is a massive amount of defensiveness. And if she doesn't get defensive, you should call an ambulance. Now, I'm not kidding, because people are wired to get defensive. And some of us are waiting, right? We are waiting to have these conversations for the right time, right? You're like, well, I got this person who's not performing, but I'm just waiting for the right time. That time is not gonna come, people, right? You're waiting for the moment that she's gonna be receptive. Guess what? It's not coming. So when she gets defensive or starts to cry or kills you off or raises her voice, you just go, aha, she is breathing. Sweet. So you keep going, and she says whatever she says, and you say, okay, can I make a suggestion or request? And then you say to her, would you be willing to do that? And the last thing you say is, thanks for having this conversation with me. I know it was awkward. Now, how many of you are thinking, there is no way I can do that without dying? You can. I want you to have the mind frame that when you tell people the truth, you do them a favor. To let your employees proliferate in a job where they are not being successful or where people are talking smack about them, meaning gossip, does not do them a favor. That is, how do I create a relationship with my doctors and my staff and our partners and our vendors and our patients where we can tell the truth. Good feedback is 2 minutes. People would rather hear that they're not cutting it for 2 minutes rather than 20, right? They don't want to hear that they smell for 20 minutes. They want you to tell them, and they want to get out and tell anyone who will listen what an idiot you are. So faster is better, okay? So I'm going to keep demoing the formula. Now, I'm clearly following an 8-step formula that I don't have with me today. It's in my head, but I want to give it to you. All right, are we ready for how to tell someone they smell? Okay, good. You ready? Hey, when you have 2 minutes, I need to talk to you. 2 minutes. Do it in a private setting, behind a closed door, not in front of other people, not in cube land. If you don't have a private environment, go to Starbucks, where other people you know are not there. And you say, hey, I've noticed that you have an odor. That's it, people. 6 words. I've noticed you have an odor. We work in a small environment here, and I never want someone to not want to work with you because of this. Now, I know this is very awkward. It's awkward for me, and I'm sure it's awkward for you, but I'd much rather you hear this from me than somebody else. What are your thoughts? And then he'll say, or she'll say, whatever they say. I work out over lunch, and I don't shower, and oh my gosh, I can't believe you're telling me this, and right? Now, I have found that most people you say this stuff to, they actually know. How to tell someone to stop texting in front of a patient. All right, you ready? Hey, do you have a second? I need to talk to you. This is a little awkward for me to bring up. It may be a little awkward for you, but I care about you and I care about your career, and I think this is getting in the way. I've noticed that at times when you're working with patients that you're on your phone and you're texting. We're in an environment that is really about customer service and paying attention to every patient who comes in here as if they were our parents and our moms and our grandmas. So I'm going to ask you not to have your phone out, ever, when you're with a patient, and that you're really giving your full attention to that patient. What are your thoughts? And that's it. Now, how many of you have noticed that sometimes you have to have feedback conversations more than once? You're like, what, we're talking about this again? How many of you have tried to quit something? Chocolate, alcohol, shopping, something else. How long does it take? Like, is it like, if you try to quit smoking, does it go on the first try? Yeah, the guy I'm dating, it's been a year. He's not working out. So don't expect to have the conversation more than once. And you tell the person, you prep it, right? You prep it, and you say, listen, when I see this get better, I'm going to say something. And when it doesn't get better, I'm going to say something. But be prepared to have this conversation again, although I'd really love not to. The key to being able to say what you want without being physically ill is to set the expectation that you're going to do so. But most of us don't, right? So we hire people who are like smart and talented, and they went to a great school, and we think they're going to be awesome. And then they start, and they do this weird, squirrely stuff. We're like, I can't believe they did that. But it's too awkward to talk to them directly because that feedback thing is too weird. So we just tell someone else, right? So we go to our friend in AAOE, we call someone in another practice, and we go, oh my gosh, I got this person, and they're doing this thing. And then your friend says, well, have you talked to them? And you're like, no, don't do that. There's nothing I've said this afternoon that you can't do. Practices that advance and grow and make money, the administrators and the doctors and the staff have 2 things in common, and those are communication and courage, and you have both. So go out and be candid